For years, Will Smith's public image has been shaped by grace, loyalty, and silence. But now, that silence has shattered. A viral onstage kiss, a new album full of raw confessions, and rumors of a long-overdue divorce have flipped the narrative completely. The world isn't just watching anymore. They're choosing sides. Because after years of being dragged into scandal after scandal, Will Smith is finally rewriting the story. And this time, it's without Jada. The spark? A steamy moment on stage with singer India Martinez. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't hidden. And it definitely wasn't the Will Smith we're used to. Fans were stunned. Critics were furious. But for the first time in years, Will looked free. Alive, even. And that glimpse of happiness sent Jada reeling. Now, sources close to the couple claim she's ready to pull the plug for good. But there's more here than just tabloid gossip. From secret separations and cryptic songs to bombshell memoirs and real estate shakeups, the signs are everywhere. This isn't just a breakup, it's a turning point. And it might be the final chapter in one of Hollywood's most complicated love stories. It started with a performance, but it ended with a headline. When Will Smith took the stage with Spanish singer India Martinez, most expected a playful duet, maybe even a little flirtation. What no one expected was the chemistry, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. The two moved in sync, whispering lyrics, leaning in close. And then, a kiss. Or at least something close enough to send the internet into overdrive. The moment was captured from every angle. Fans gasped, blogs reposted, and within minutes, Will Smith and India Martinez were trending worldwide. But this wasn't just an onstage slip. Backstage, the cameras kept rolling. India was seen leaping into Will's arms, laughing as if they were a couple who'd done this before. And maybe they had. Because soon after, she began posting cryptic photos on Instagram. Glasses of red wine, shadowy selfies, subtle tags. She didn't name him, but she didn't need to. The vibe was loud enough. Something real, or real enough, was going on between them. And while fans debated the morality, others couldn't help but notice one thing. Will looked genuinely happy. For a man who spent years being the butt of entanglement jokes and memes, that joy hit differently. Especially when standing next to a woman who wasn't publicly diminishing him. There were no awkward interviews, no humiliating confessions, just smiles, lightness, and maybe even relief. India didn't look like a rebound. She looked like someone Will could breathe around. And for viewers who've watched his body language in recent years, tension in the jaw, sadness in the eyes, this version of Will felt new. Still, not everyone was convinced. Critics called it a PR distraction. Some said it was inappropriate, especially from a man who technically remains married. One viral tweet compared the moment to a dad embarrassing himself at karaoke night. But others clapped back, "Let him live. After everything Jada's put him through, he deserves this." And that sentiment kept growing. For every critic, there were 10 supporters cheering him on. Because maybe, just maybe, this wasn't about scandal. It was about healing. And for Will Smith, India Martinez might not just be a fling, she might be a symbol of freedom. While Will Smith's name was lighting up headlines thanks to his cozy moments with India Martinez, Jada Pinkett Smith disappeared. No public statements, no cryptic Instagram captions, not a single red carpet appearance, just silence. And for someone who's made a brand out of being vocal, about her marriage, her pain, her power, this silence was loud. Fans began to notice. Comment sections buzzed. Something had shifted. And in Hollywood, when the one who usually controls the story goes quiet, people start writing the ending for them. This isn't the first time Jada's name has triggered controversy. Her 2023 memoir Worthy was supposed to reclaim her story, but instead it poured gasoline on an already smoldering public perception. She revealed intimate details about their marriage, including that they had been quietly separated since 2016. But what shocked people wasn't the separation, it was the tone. She spoke as if Will was just a chapter, not the co-author of her life. The public wasn't impressed. Critics slammed the book. sales fizzled, and fans questioned how much longer she could disrespect a man who defended her to the world, literally, on stage at the Oscars. Now, with Will smiling beside another woman, that control is slipping, and it's reportedly infuriating Jada. After years of holding the emotional upper hand, sitting opposite Will on Red Table Talk, airing out their dirty laundry, explaining away entanglements, she's no longer driving the narrative. Will is, through music, through joy, through silence. And the more Jada stays out of the public eye, the more people interpret her absence as jealousy, or worse, loss. Behind the scenes, sources suggest Jada is not just hurt, she's rattled. Watching Will receive public sympathy, fan support, and a wave of good-for-him energy is a role reversal she likely didn't expect. For years, she was the emotionally complex one, the thought leader, the firebrand. But now, she's the villain in a redemption arc that no longer centers her. And for a woman who once said Will wasn't enough for her spiritually or sexually, it's a brutal twist to now see the world rallying behind the man she once dismissed. Will and Jada's marriage has long been the subject of public curiosity, but beneath the glitz was a history far more fractured than fans ever realized. They married in 1997, quickly becoming one of Hollywood's most iconic power couples. Red carpets, movie premieres, family interviews. For years, they played the part flawlessly. But behind the scenes, things weren't picture perfect. In 2016, they quietly separated, something Jada wouldn't reveal until 7 years later in her memoir. And when she did, it wasn't a heartfelt confession. It felt cold, detached, like a reveal made for shock value, not healing. The cracks had been visible for years. Who could forget the infamous Red Table Talk episode where Will, visibly shaken, sat across from Jada as she detailed her entanglement with August Alsina, a man nearly half her age, whom Will reportedly gave his blessing to? That moment became a cultural reset, not because of the drama, but because of Will's face. The raw, unfiltered pain, the humiliation. The internet turned it into a meme, but what people missed was the deeper story. A man trying to keep his family together in the face of public betrayal. And it wasn't just one incident. There were countless moments where Jada seemed to dominate the narrative, often at Will's expense. From suggesting she never really wanted to get married, to revealing intimate struggles without his consent, it became clear that their relationship wasn't balanced. Jada led the conversation, and Will endured it, not with retaliation, but with silence. And that silence slowly became a symbol of submission, of a man trapped in an emotional partnership where his feelings were often sidelined. But now in 2025, everything feels different. Will is no longer sitting quietly across the table. He's releasing music, dancing on stage, appearing solo at events. And Jada, she's the one fading into the background. The years of quiet suffering, the awkward interviews, the spiritual mismatches, they all look different in hindsight. What once seemed like eccentric celebrity quirks now read like warning signs. Because this wasn't just a marriage on the rocks. It was a man slowly losing himself until he didn't anymore. In Hollywood, breakups don't always start with press releases. They start with property listings. And lately, Will and Jada have been quietly unloading real estate at a suspicious pace. Homes are being sold, prices are dropping, and online sleuths are connecting the dots. In the past year alone, the couple has put multiple properties on the market, including a multi-million-dollar estate in California and a family-linked home in Maryland. That's not downsizing, that's division. And in celebrity circles, when the homes go up for sale, it usually means the relationship is already long gone. One of the most telling signs? A steep price cut on a 4,100 square foot property in the heart of Calabasas. The home had been sitting unsold for months, until they slashed $150,000 off the asking price. Real estate insiders immediately flagged it. Why the rush? Why the discount? Why now? The house wasn't just a listing, it was a signal, especially when paired with reports that the couple had also sold a 5-bedroom home in the DMV area, close to where Jada's mother lives. These aren't just homes, they're touchstones of their past, and they're being erased. Fans noticed. A TikTok real estate analyst even went viral breaking down the listing, mocking the outdated cabinets, mismatched floors, and Target-style decor. But beyond the laughs was something serious, a feeling that the Smiths were liquidating, separating assets, closing chapters. And in a state like California, where community property laws require a fair 50-50 split, that kind of movement doesn't happen unless a formal separation or divorce is in progress. The paperwork may be private, but the for sale signs are public. And what's most interesting is how quiet it all is. No media announcements, no "we're parting ways with love" Instagram captions, just homes disappearing off the market one by one. It's the opposite of how Jada has handled things in the past. No red table, no dramatics, just silence. And that's what makes it feel real. Because for once, they're not performing, they're preparing. And if the property trail continues, it won't just confirm what fans already suspect, it'll finalize it. The marriage may have been emotionally over for years, but now, the assets are catching up. After 2 decades of silence, Will Smith did something he's never done in the wake of public scandal. He released an album. And this time, he didn't rap about saving the world or winning over Hollywood. He rapped about pain, about heartbreak, about her. The album, his first full-length LP in over 20 years, isn't just music. It's a confession booth, a lyrical diary. And if you listen closely, it's clear. Will isn't just healing, he's finally telling his side of the story. From the very first track, the album dives straight into his emotional unraveling. He talks about public shame, broken love, and his controversial moment at the Oscars. Yes, that slap. But what hits even harder is when he references his relationship with Jada. He doesn't name names in every song, but the subtext is loud. In one track, a female voice says, "You wish you had Jada Pinkett next to you," followed by a man's reply, "Him and Jada both crazy." It's not subtle, and fans immediately recognized the reference. It's as if Will stopped holding back and finally acknowledged what the world had already been screaming for years. And then came the track that changed everything, First Love. In it, Will speaks about rediscovering who he was before all the drama, before the trauma, before the fame. He reflects on what it felt like to love with abandon, before the world demanded perfection. It's vulnerable, honest, raw. In one line, he drops the quote, "Every heart will be broken, but what do we do with the pieces?" It hit fans hard. Some said it was poetic. Others said it sounded like closure. And a few even speculated it wasn't about Jada at all, that it might be about someone else entirely. Someone he's rekindled feelings for. But not everyone's impressed. Chris Rock's brother publicly mocked the album, calling it trash and accusing Will of using his scandals to sell records. Others dismissed it as a PR move, a sympathy grab wrapped in melody. Still, whether people loved it or hated it, they were talking. And that's exactly what Will wanted. Because for the first time in years, he wasn't letting the headlines define him. He was writing his own. This album isn't just about music, it's about control. After years of watching his personal life be dissected by tabloids and turned into clickbait, Will finally took the mic back. And what he said? Hurt. But it also healed. The moment Will's album dropped and clips of his steamy performance with India Martinez hit social media, the internet exploded. But not in one direction. Some fans rallied behind him with open arms, calling it a long overdue awakening. "Let that man live," one user tweeted. "After what Jada put him through, this is healing." TikTok edits romanticized his freedom. Twitter threads praised his growth. For many, this wasn't a man acting out, it was a man finally reclaiming his joy. For the first time in years, Will was being seen not as Jada's husband, but as his own person. But not everyone bought it. Critics called the album a publicity stunt. The onstage kiss, performative. The lyrics, convenient. Why now, they asked. Why release all this after years of silence? Some accused Will of capitalizing on public sympathy. Others questioned the timing, releasing an album filled with references to pain, heartbreak, and betrayal, just as divorce rumors swirl and real estate listings go live. It felt to some like calculated strategy. One popular post read, "This ain't healing, it's PR." And then there were the skeptics who thought both sides were playing the same game. Jada aired him out on Red Table Talk. Now he's doing the same, just with beats and auto-tune, one fan joked. Others pointed out that the lines between art and strategy have always been blurred in celebrity culture. What's sincere? What's scripted? In the age of curated vulnerability, even pain can be marketable. And Will, once the king of clean-cut charisma, was now walking that line. Still, whether this is all part of a calculated rebrand or a genuine emotional release, one thing's clear: the public is paying attention. Will's actions are no longer being dismissed as erratic or awkward. They're being analyzed as moves. And for a man once trapped in the shadow of entanglements and red table confessions, that's a powerful shift. People may not agree on his motives, but they agree on one thing. This version of Will Smith is no longer passive. He's leading the conversation, whether you believe him or not. For years, there's been an unspoken tension in how the world viewed Will and Jada. He was the golden boy, Hollywood royalty with global appeal. She was the edgy thinker, the soul searcher, the emotionally raw partner who turned their private lives into public therapy sessions. But beneath the surface, many fans started noticing a pattern. Jada seemed to hold the power. Will seemed to endure it. From confessions about not wanting to marry him to the infamous entanglement moment, the narrative was quietly rewriting itself. And it painted Jada as the dominant force, and Will as the collateral damage. That image didn't come out of nowhere. Jada herself admitted in interviews that she often pushed Will to confront uncomfortable truths. But what started as vulnerability eventually started to feel like control. Will sitting across from her on Red Table Talk, eyes glassy, lips tight, while she unraveled the story of her affair with August Alsina. It wasn't just uncomfortable to watch, it was humiliating. She aired their secrets. He swallowed his pride, over and over again. And for many, it started to look less like healing, and more like emotional warfare disguised as openness. There were also darker whispers. Rumors that Jada allegedly made certain people in Will's orbit go to rehab, even if they didn't need it. That she pushed boundaries in ways that blurred the line between influence and manipulation. Fans began sharing old clips, interviews, and quotes that, when put in context, painted a more unsettling picture. A picture of a man slowly losing pieces of himself to hold together a marriage that seemed to offer him little in return. And through it all, Will stayed silent. Loyal. Deflecting with charm, masking with humor. Until now. Because what we're seeing in 2025 isn't just Will Smith smiling more. It's Will Smith reclaiming his autonomy, releasing an album, publicly embracing a new woman, drawing emotional lines in the sand. The once silent partner is now the one making noise, and people are listening. Whether India Martinez is a serious relationship or a symbolic exit, the message is the same. Will's done being the emotional punching bag, and Jada, once the one in control, is being left behind, not by media spin, but by the man who finally chose freedom over performance. So here we are, at the edge of what could be Will Smith's greatest plot twist yet. After decades of being Hollywood's nice guy, the family man, the loyal husband willing to absorb blow after blow in silence, he's finally drawing the line. The onstage intimacy, the raw album lyrics, the quiet real estate moves. This isn't a publicity stunt, it's a declaration. He's not just stepping away from Jada, he's stepping into a version of himself the world hasn't seen before. One that isn't edited by a red table or filtered through someone else's truth. But the question still remains. Is this a rebirth or just another Hollywood performance? Will's album has stirred mixed reactions, and while fans are cheering him on, critics are still skeptical. Is this authentic healing or carefully calculated brand management? After all, celebrity reinvention is nothing new, and Will's always been a master storyteller. But what makes this moment feel different is the emotional weight behind it. This isn't just about image, it's about identity. It's about a man who finally stopped performing in his personal life and started living it. Meanwhile, Jada's silence is louder than ever. She's gone from being the driver of the narrative to a passenger in someone else's story. And it's unclear whether she'll try to reclaim the spotlight or retreat completely. But one thing's certain, The public is watching closely. Because this isn't just about a couple breaking up, it's about what their breakup represents. For years, their marriage was seen as progressive, open, evolved. But now, it looks more like a cautionary tale. And fans are starting to ask the hard question. Were we rooting for a love story, or just watching a slow-motion collapse? Will Smith might not have all the answers yet, but one thing's for sure. He's no longer apologizing for wanting more peace, more honesty, more joy. Whether he finds it with India Martinez or just within himself, it's clear this isn't the same Will we've known. It's a man who's been through public humiliation, personal betrayal, and a cultural reckoning, and came out the other side choosing himself. So is this the end of Will and Jada? Maybe. Or maybe it's the beginning of Will's real story. One without entanglements, one without masks. One that finally lets him be the main character in his own life.